and members of the 78th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge. Please stand by for the presentation and posting of the colors by the color guard of the U.S. Garrison Benelux.
Color guard! 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
78 years ago, the skies lit up and the war once again came to these lands. What now is a lifetime ago is still vivid in the minds of those who lived through it. Souls scarred by the brutal fighting, be it either soldiers or civilians, were never really healed in the 78 years that separate that time from today. The important question now, more than ever, is what shall we do when the last witnesses have passed? The youngest members of the greatest generation who are still with us today are now well into their 90s, a truly blessed age. And although some still make the long transatlantic journey to remember their comrades in arms, this is bound to become a rarity in the coming years, most unfortunately. Many of us here present today were fortunate enough to spend time with the veterans, listen to their stories firsthand, take them to their hallowed grounds, find their foxholes, and reconnect them with families that sheltered them during the conflict. Seeing former foes become friends was an inspiring sight, one that truly illustrated the futility of war. We take from those experiences and find the importance of the message that the veterans have conveyed to us, that war can never be the answer. As we now slowly make the transition into a world where there will be no more living World War II veterans, the task of carrying on that message will fall onto our shoulders. The importance of ceremonies like this one today is not about the ones speaking here at the microphone, but it is your presence. Your personal motivations to be here today may differ, but we're all united to carry forward the message that the veterans told us, to never forget. Visit the former battlegrounds, see the now peaceful surroundings and a beautiful landscape, and enjoy it as it is today, peaceful. Those who saw it back in '44 saw it at its absolute worst. With death and destruction around, muffled prayers and cries of agony shrouded in a dense fog. Visit the memorial cemeteries at Henri Chapelle, Nepre, Ham, Saint-Avold, Margraten, and the countless other places, and reflect at the white marble markers. Do the same at the small Kriegsgräberstätte in Lommel and several other ones that are plentiful around here, and think about the young lives that were shattered. Forgetfulness is the worst thing that can happen. It all too often leads to making the same mistakes as the past. We owe it to those who gave their lives for our freedom to remember their sacrifice so that it was not in vain. 19,000 young Americans gave their lives here for our freedom during the Battle of the Bulge, and your presence today honors them all. Thank you. And I would like to pass the word now to Major Grommes for his sentiments on the events that took place here 78 years ago.
Liebe Freunde, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure and an honor to welcome you on behalf of the town of St. Vith to this year's Flag of Friendship ceremony at the 106th Infantry Division Monument. Im Namen der Stadt St. Vith ist es uns eine Ehre und eine Freude, Sie alle zur diesjährigen Flag of Friendship Zeremonie hier am Denkmal in der Klosterstraße begrüßen zu dürfen. Nun ist es schon 78 Jahre her, als hier eine der erbittertsten Schlachten tobte. Die Ardennenschlacht, Hitlers Versuch, das Kriegsglück unter Aufbietung aller verfügbaren Reserven in Europa zu wenden, wütete hier in unserer Gegend. Über 1 Million Soldaten waren an der Offensive beteiligt und es war die größte Landschlacht des Zweiten Weltkrieges mit amerikanischer Beteiligung. Es war für unsere Heimat verheerende Folgen, Tod, Verderben, Leid, Verzweiflung und Elend waren allgegenwärtig. Ganze Familien wurden ausgelöscht und eine große Leere nahm diesen Platz ein. Die engsten Liebsten begruben ihre Verwandten, nahmen Abschied von ihren Vätern und Söhnen. Der Tod fuhr reiche Ernte ein und nur sehr knapp sind wir dem Verlust unserer Freiheit entkommen. 78 years ago, one of the most fierce battles rampaged here, the Battle of the Bulge, Hitler's attempt to change the tide of war at the European theater of war by throwing everything he can muster. Over 1 million soldiers participated in this offensive, and it was the biggest land battle of the Second World War with American involvement. It was devastating for our region. Death, despair, misery, and were omnipresent. Whole families were extinguished, and in their place came a large void. People buried their beloved relatives, said for the last time farewell to their fathers and sons. We only escaped narrowly the loss of our freedom. 20.000 Söhne Amerikas verloren in ihrem Bestreben, uns zu helfen, ihr Leben. 20.000 amerikanische Familien trauern mit uns und halten ihren Mut in ehrenhafter Erinnerung. Wir versammeln uns hier jedes Jahr, um diesen mutigen Männern unseren tiefen Dank und stillen Tribut dafür auszudrücken, dass sie den höchsten aller Preise gezahlt haben, um dafür zu sorgen, dass die Flagge der Freiheit weiter hochgetragen werden kann hier in unseren Gegenden. Durch ihren Mut und ihren Beistand leben nun unzählige unserer Leute, die sonst nie das Licht der Welt erblickt hätten. Wir dürfen nicht vergessen, dass eine solche Tragödie sich jederzeit und überall wiederholen kann. Diese 20.000 Männer sollen uns immer selber den Mut verschaffen, uns jedem entgegenzutreten, der unsere Freiheit bedroht. Lasst uns gemeinsam dafür sorgen, dass ihre Taten und ihr Einsatz nie vergessen werden. 20,000 American sons lost their lives in their courageous strive to help us. 20,000 American families are mourning with us and remembering their honorable courage. We gather today and every year to express these brave men our deep gratitude and pay tribute, for they paid the highest price to make sure the flag of freedom can still be carried high here in our regions. It is because of their courage and support that countless people are now alive who otherwise would not have seen the light of the day, would simply not have been born. Let us not forget such tragedy can repeat itself at any place and at any time. May these 20,000 honorable men always inspire us to oppose anybody challenging our freedom. Let us together ensure their heroic deeds are never forgotten. Thank you very much. Vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit.
Thank you, Mayor Gromas, for those sentiments. This year marks the 10th anniversary of our Flag of Friendship Award. In early 2012, World War II veteran and historian of the 106th Infantry Division Association, John Schaffner, wanted to rekindle the Battle of the Bulge commemorations for his unit here in the area of St. Vith. For 10 years now, Doug Mitchell and myself have been having the privilege of hosting this special event with the cooperation of the City of St. Vith, where at the request of the veterans of the Golden Lion Division, we pass on a thank you to a local person who, over the course of their lives, have shown great interest and enthusiasm in the field of remembering and who have perpetuated the legacy of the greatest generation here in the borderland area where the Battle of the Bulge played out in the winter of 1944. Now, the award itself is that of a triangular folded American flag, much like the ones who were handed to the families of the almost 20,000 American soldiers who lost their life during the Battle of the Bulge. Each of the 13 folds on the flag is symbolic, and it's perhaps the third fold that has the highest meaning today, as it's made in honor and remembrance of the veterans who gave a portion of their lives in defense of their country to attain a peace throughout the world. Now, this year, I have the honor to present the flag of friendship to a good friend and historical colleague, and it's Manfred Klein, who many of you have known. For many years, Manfred has been deeply involved in the history of the borderland region and those who fought here and his native area of the Schneeifel. In December 1944, it was there where the 106th Division made a stand. And countless soldiers of the division were, of course, never recovered after the fighting. They went missing in action during the hostilities, and not a trace was found of them. Now, for several years, Manfred has been working very closely with the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency, a government body whose mission is to find and identify missing service personnel from the armed conflicts that involved branches of the U.S. military. Now, this work of his led to several successful retrievals and identifications of men who've been missing for decades. This important work, of course, offers closure to families back home in the U.S. and ensures that the missing men are rendered all the proper honors that they deserve. Now, besides its work with the MIA retrieval, Manfred has also been heavily involved in historical research, and with his local colleague Robert Fuchs, has been responsible in creating a series of multimedia presentations called Grensland in Vlammen, The Borderlands in Flames, which focuses on the events of the Battle of the Bulge and how it unfolded here in the local communities. By investigating and by spending countless hours doing accurate and groundbreaking research, they've made the story of the Ardennes offensive available to the local public with great detail on both civilian as military aspects of the story. Their next installment of their documentary series is currently under production. As a testimonial of esteem and gratitude for his years of dedication in the perpetuation of the history of the Battle of the Bulge, and for helping set the record straight on the history of the Golden Lion Division, we're honored to award him with this year's Flag of Friendship. And I will ask you for an applause in honor of Manfred. Now, while he was planning to join us today for the acceptance of this award, he received very short notice call this week from DPAA to assist him with a mission in Normandy for a retrieval of a missing U.S. service member. And duty calls, of course, and we fully understand this naturally, and he said, sadly enough, that he couldn't be present today in person, but he wanted to say thank you, and he felt very honored to be this year's recipient. And I will ask Doug Mitchell to bring up the flag and certificate, and we'll also ask Marcel Vassen, last year's Flag of Friendship recipient, and a good friend of Manfred, to come up and accept the award in his absence.
Good to see you here again. On behalf of the association, please accept this. You know it will see the right hands. Thank you, sir. You can keep yours company until he gets back. I think it's extremely symmetrical that the exact reason we're giving this award is the reason that he was called away. Okay. So the reason that he was actually called away to Normandy. So the fact that Manfred can't be here is actually kind of appropriate. So another round for Manfred. Second round, boys, home.
Now, besides this aspect of the award ceremony, naturally the main purpose of this event at this location is to remember the men of the 106th Infantry Divisions, the young soldiers who gave their lives here during the Battle of the Bulge. I especially want you to remember the 700 men of the 106th who gave their ultimate sacrifice to their country during World War II. And I would like everyone now to observe a moment of silence in their honor. We shall now continue our ceremony with the presentation of flowers. For the U.S. Embassy, Brussels, Defense Attaché's Office, I call for Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Baker, U.S. Army Attaché. For the Stadtgemeinde St. Vith, I call for Bürgermeister Herbert Grommes. For the presentation of flowers in the name of the 106th Infantry Division Association, I call for two family members of 106th Division veterans. Sean Stringham, whose uncle Clifford Bobo was killed in action in Winterspell, Germany on December 17th, and Luke Hesse, whose grandfather was Lieutenant James Hesse of the 423rd Infantry Regiment. For the reenactment group, 2nd Armored in Europe, I call forward two of their members who will present flowers in honor of the unit they are portraying, the 106th Infantry Division Golden Lions. This concludes our ceremony here in St. Vith, observing the 78th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge. And on behalf of Mayor Herbert Grommes of St. Vith, I would like to invite you for a complimentary drink at the Triangle, not very far from here. And as a closing statement, I would like to give special appreciation to everyone who is attending here today, as well as the group of reenactors who are here behind the monument. These are men of the group 2nd Armored in Europe, known for their detailed and historical representation of combat units of the U.S. Army in World War II. And for this year's 78th anniversary, they have spent the last 4 days in an immersive experience retracing the steps of the men of the 424th Infantry Regiment in deep freeze temperatures, wearing the exact same kit as the men of the 106th did, sleeping in barns out in the cold, suffering, but by doing so, they only got a glimpse of what the men endured during World War II, of course. But we want to thank them for their respectful and dedicated way of honoring the Golden Lion Division and by agreeing to partake in these commemorations today. So a round of applause to them. And to close, I would also like to acknowledge the following people for their participation and presence today. Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Baker, U.S. Army Attaché to the Embassy, the Embassy of Brussels and Defense Attaché's Office, Command Sergeant Major Gary E. Jurgens of U.S. Army Garrison Benelux, members of the U.S. Army Garrison Benelux Color Guard team situated here in front of the monument for their outstanding work in today's difficult conditions. Members and flag bearers of the Freundeskreis der Reservisten Eupen-Malmedy St. Vith, Bürgermeister Herbert Grommes in the Stadtgemeindeverwaltung St. Vith, family members and friends of the 106th Infantry Division Association, friend and colleague Doug Mitchell here, who is always ready to direct traffic and help with all the logistics involved in this commemoration. And of course, our Flag of Friendship recipients here present today from past years. Several of them I have seen in the attending crowd. Naturally, our recipient for this year, Manfred Klein, in absence, and all of you who took their time from your busy schedules and preparations for the holiday season to be present here today in honor of the soldiers who fought here during the Battle of the Bulge. That concludes our ceremony, and I would like everybody to remain in place. And of course, naturally, our bugler, who has been... Yeah, before we close the ceremony, of course, we would like to ask the bugler to play the U.S. and Belgian national anthem. And afterwards, we will ask everybody to remain in place for the retirement of the colors at the monument. Thank you.
tail. Watch time. March. Right turn. March. Forward. March.
That concludes our ceremony. Thank you all for being here.